Okay, James. So you are now on.
Okay.
I will give you now the information of the meeting. So this first part will be cut for later. But so now it's your turn. So now you are free to say whatever.
So
Thanks
much.
for the meeting. For now, it's only been sent in the meeting, but later will be more people probably. But as
Hmm.
well as the meeting is going to be recorded, uh, later people are interested in this can also watch it. So I will keep the mic. Thank you for accepting the meeting and the talk,
Great.
and keep in touch.
Thank you. Should I give a few minutes for more people to come in, or should I
Yeah.
just start?
Give like 3 minutes probably, and in 3 minutes you can start. I will keep the sound as I said, but if you have anything, you can write me on Telegram. Thank you.
Okay. Then I'll just wait for a few minutes to see if more people come in. Welcome, if anyone just joined. It's a pleasure to be here speaking in front of the IAMS. Yeah. If anyone can talk now, where is everyone from? I'm just curious. Okay. Oh, sweet. Good stuff. That's valid. That's totally okay. I will have multiple. That's valid. That's totally okay. I will have multiple pauses midway through for questions, and you can feel free to send any in the chat, and I will be checking it. Of course, no pressure. But yeah, I'm just going to wait a few minutes just for in case more people are coming late. Sweet. Welcome. Don't mind my gallon-sized water bottle. People, a good amount. If you just joined, I'm just waiting a few minutes in case anybody else is coming late. Okay. I think I will be starting in a few minutes. I just have a question. How did you first hear about the society? I was very fortunate to be the co-president of NYU's Student Association with mathematics, and Nicholas just randomly sent me an email, and immediately I just thought this was a really great project. I'm just curious how anyone else heard about this.
So I think my friend, she contact, or one of the people contact her. So now I'm here.
Oh, really good stuff. That's good. Okay, I think that now is probably a good time to get started. Nicholas said 3 minutes later, 2 minutes ago. So, but I think that it's a pretty good time to start. Okay, so this is the first in a sequence of talks hosted by the IAMS that explores mathematics education at the collegiate level across different countries. This is the USA case. My name is James Pagang, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here. I think the IAMS is doing an amazing thing building bridges between mathematicians, especially in these really trying times these days, and I am really pleased to be here. So, I am a third-year undergraduate at New York University, majoring in mathematics. I've lived in the United States all of my life, and for most of my life, I have liked math. I got hooked on it for real through the YouTube videos of a certain 3 Blue 1 Brown. My favorite math subject is algebraic number theory. I am very big into that, though I also love the analytic side of things. I dabble in categories, as I'm standing behind in the picture, and on a different note, I'm also very musically involved, and I really like backpacking in the woods. I'm also just very grateful to be here. Thank you. I really thank Nicholas for this opportunity. So in this talk, I'm going to be talking about a lot of technical details about the specific curriculum. I will eventually pivot into some anecdotes and personal testimony, of course, pausing for questions. And at the very end, I will discuss some challenges. First, I will just get into the types of degrees. In the United States, an undergraduate degree is around 4 years in length. And this is where the majors, minors, core classes, and stuff like that lie. I will get into that later, since I'm aware that many European schools and schools across the world use a different system. But the long and the short of it is that students are required to take lots of other coursework other than just mathematics. We're also free to select our own coursework. For a master's degree, actually, first I will say I will primarily focus on being an undergraduate in this talk, just because that is my own experience. But I will just briefly mention what it's like to be a master's and a PhD student here. Master's programs in the United States are actually optional. In fact, it can be kind of hurtful. It's kind of discouraged, unless you obtain a master's from Europe, where of course you have to get a master's to get a PhD. But master's degrees primarily consist of coursework, except for a thesis, and it is unpaid. For a PhD, it's around 5 years in length, though it's shorter if you've obtained a master's. It is focused on intensive scholarly research, and the capstone of it, as across the world, is your dissertation. It is a paid position from around $30,000 to $40,000. I've given the number of euros here, which I will confess can be kind of not enough depending on what city you're in, especially New York City, but I digress. So, being an undergraduate, I have here pictured NYU's undergraduate building, which is called the Courant Institute of Mathematical Sciences. So, all students of all majors are required to take a certain body of courses called core courses. For instance, anyone in the business school, the humanities school, the math department, you're required to take a language class, a humanities class, a physics class, and such things. These are not optional. You can substitute them if you've transferred from other schools. I've listed some of my own core classes here in the slides. I've had to take physics and Spanish. And my Spanish is unfortunately very poor, but most of my cores have been on the humanities, like philosophy, theology, gender studies. I had a course in the Irish in America. They were all extremely interesting, and they opened the door to a lot of interdisciplinary work. I have talked about neural networks to so many humanities professors at this point, but I digress. On top of these classes, there is a major, which is the equivalent of a specialty. Unlike many places in Europe, where once you've chosen your specialty, you are put in a fixed sequence and primarily just take classes of that sort. In the United States, the coursework is very customizable, and they refer to this as being a major. Students can select several majors, which means that on top of your required courses, you have two kind of concentrations. I am personally exclusively a math major, although I once wanted to be a music major as well, but I know many math and music double majors. And I will also briefly mention minors, which is a kind of baby major. It's just like a very small major consisting of only like 4 courses if you're passively interested in a topic but don't think you want to devote an incredible amount of time to it. I will elaborate more on what it's like to be a math major. But first, I will actually give an anecdote. I mentioned core classes. I took a core class in gender studies, which is a feminist class. I took it just because it was a requirement, but I thought it was the most interesting of the options. And there I met Julie Livingston. She is one of my college's most famous professors who's done groundbreaking work in Africa. And she was mentioning one's credit scores in class, which is a certain thing banks do to measure the extent you'll pay back loans. And she was talking about how the algorithms were proprietary, as in they weren't public. But I knew in my head that they were neural networks. And of course, in a neural network, it is a black box. It is a program that teaches itself. It teaches itself through millions of numbers that are incomprehensible to humans. So I had raised my hand and I had mentioned this to her. And she kind of just reacted with a bewilderment and a laugh. She asked me to speak to her after class. And that started kind of a pretty fruitful collaboration where I had talked to her a lot about basically just how neural networks work, since the theory is pretty inaccessible. And she had incorporated a lot of the discussions that we had into some of her work, talking about the impact of neural networks on particular demographics. So the core classes can seem like quite an inconvenience, and believe me, I often think that they are, but they have opened the door to a lot of nice work that I've been a part of, as well as just being generally enriching. I digress. I'm going to talk a bit more about what it's like to be an undergraduate. So to be a math major at NYU, in addition to the core classes, you have a selection of math classes. There are a few required classes. Usually you have to take Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, linear algebra, discrete math, and analysis, though sometimes that is substituted with algebra, abstract algebra, depending on the college. Of course, you can take Calculus 1 and 2 in high school and skip it. But most of the rest of the classes that you take are up to you. It is completely customizable. So for instance, I have voluntarily chosen to go through NYU's algebra and number theory sequences. I'm also going through the topology one right now, of my own volition. A little bit about what the academic year is like. It's divided into two halves, which is called semesters. And on each semester, your courses change. So the course lasts for only around half of the year. There is a winter and summer break between the semesters. Winter break is usually around 1 to 2 months, and the summer break is from May to August, however many months that is. For courses, typically your grade is a letter grade. It's like an A, an A plus, or A minus, B, C, D. I'm not certain if some colleges do number grades, and the exams are usually once to twice in semester. In my experience, most of the exams I've had have been proof-based, usually only around like 3 or 4 questions. Earlier on in the sequence, they're more calculation-based, and there are a lot of questions, but that's kind of just what the sequence gets like at a certain point. I'll give another anecdote. I mentioned that I had elected to take a probability class, and I had taken it with a certain professor whose name is Gerard Benarou. Gerard Benarou is perhaps the most famous professor in NYU's mathematics department. He is the director. Very recently, he was appointed this. And he is a very, I guess, spiky person. Amazing lecturer. I thought that he had this amazing ability to elucidate terribly convoluted proofs, but he is very famous among mathematicians for his dislike of algebraic geometry. I remember once in class I was reading Alexander Grothendieck's EGA, Elements of Algebraic Geometry, and I think I was testing my friend on their French by having them read passages, and he just asks what I was reading, takes the book from my hand, opens it, just looks at it and goes, "Why are you reading this? This is crap." And then he closes the book, and I ask him, why are you saying that? He's like, "He almost killed math." He dropped the book on the floor and stormed out of the room. I was very bewildered by this, so I had the opportunity to ask him next class, and he pulled me to his office and for 1 hour straight talked to me about how algebraic geometry had almost killed. He was a French mathematician in the 1970s, which is, of course, when the heyday of algebraic geometry was going on. But my point with this anecdote was to get into another topic, which is that most United States universities have specialties in what kind of math they study. If you're an undergraduate, typically, you will probably find professors related to what you are working in, no matter where you are. But when you're a graduate student, it is very dependent on the school. My college, NYU, particularly specializes in probability, applied math, PDE, differential geometry, and such things, which has been, I will admit, somewhat of a frustration as an algebraist, but that is the specialty of my college. I actually should pause for questions now. I have gone quite fast. I've talked about like majors, minors, a bit of the experience. So I would just like to see if anybody has any questions. You could unmute or maybe put something in the chat. I would be more than happy to answer. Of course, I will make more time for questions later on in the talk as well. I'll just give a few minutes in case anybody has anything they'd like to ask. No questions so far? Okay, then I think I will proceed. I'll talk a little bit about what student life is like at my college. So in the United States, there are quite a nice selection of math contests to choose from. The most famous is the Putnam. The Putnam is the equivalent of the IMO for undergraduates in the United States and Canada. It covers around the same topics as the IMO with the addition of calculus and linear algebra and such things. I have not competed in it personally, but there is a very large culture of contest math in a lot of the universities in the United States. There are also many other small-scale ones, like Columbia is hosting an intercollegiate one in analysis and algebra that I will be happily partaking in a little bit. At NYU specifically, the student culture is very geared towards applied and financial mathematics. So there is a lot of people who drill each other on interview questions for, say, working as a quant, that is a quantitative analyst, whether a bank or a hedge fund or such things. My college actually has a club for people interested in becoming quants, and you have to put in an application. There are several interviews, and like it has a 5% selection rate or something like that. It's like really intense and crazy. But that's not to say there's also a very considerable body of pure mathematicians at my college. One thing that happens a lot is graduate student seminars. So a lot of graduate students and also undergraduates who are just interested in learning about a topic together or wish to teach their fellow classmates about a certain topic, they often come together and just decide to, undergo a particular reading, whether it be a book or a paper or something. I'm actually doing one right now in the topic of class field theory. I have just written a lot of lecture notes in advance for it, but it's a very fun kind of way to get to know people of your major. I didn't include this in the slides, but there are also many clubs. In the United States, colleges have just decided that clubs are good for the students in the same way that, I don't know, a pharmacy is good for the students. And so they give clubs a really insane amount of money to go out and get food, get people to go to things. The NYU Math Club is a very nice mix of talks and recruiting events and such things. I believe I am also going to talk about the ethnic diversity of my college. NYU is a very ethnically diverse place. I would say in the math department, there is a very nice mix of people from, Americans, immigrants from Europe, and people from Asia. And no matter what demographic you are, there are many ample organizations that you could find, for instance, the Korean Student Association. My college has 50,000 people in it, 26,000 undergraduates, and like however many graduate students and postdocs. So there is quite a lot of people here, and so there's quite a lot of wiggle room to get involved in. Not to mention stupid things like a cheese club and such things. I will admit, though, unfortunately, I would be lying if I said that NYU's math department specifically doesn't lack demographics that are historically underrepresented. I think it still has some improvement to go there. Though on the whole, my college is pretty diverse. This is just kind of a central theme of a lot of the top universities in the United States. In particular, I believe the international population at NYU, like that is the students who are immigrants and unarmed citizens, I think it stands at around 20 to 30%. So there is a substantial body. I will also mention the financial generosity. tuition in the United States, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's literally insane how much money it is to go to college. However, at places like NYU and other kind of colleges, they typically cover almost all of the tuition for low-income students. So, for example, I don't pay for college. I also don't pay for a dorm, which I'm in right now, and I'm given a meal plan for free. I am extremely generous for this. And I believe if anyone else was low income, then they would probably do something similar as well for international students. Unfortunately, though, academia is not a meritocracy, and so a lot of people do have to pay the full amount. It is really insane. I digress. I want to talk a little bit about New York City as well. I really love this place. I am from Pennsylvania. I'm from the suburbs. I had always grew up in like a kind of a car-based infrastructure place. And coming to New York City was a really eye-opening thing. It is also an extremely diverse place to be. I have the numbers here on the slides. It's around 30% white, 28.3% Hispanic, so on and so forth. It is an extremely accepting city to be, and the general feeling is that you are a New Yorker as soon as you come to New York, not that you have to prove yourself or something of the sort. This is really like the essence of the potpourri or the melting pot kind of approach. I will also touch on a little bit of the government at a later point in these slides. It would be dishonest not to. But the government of NYC has been pretty good, unlike the federal government. They have taken measures to protect immigrants from the federal government, and there's a lot of really nice social services. For instance, New York City will have to provide you with a bed if you ask for one. Like, it is illegal for them not to, and also to provide you food. Also, there's just everything everywhere. And a 5-minute subway ride can take you to anything. There is like an Ethiopian place like 2 doors down from my dorm. There's paintball, there's a hat store. There's basically everything you could ask for. It's in a really amazing place to be. And the infrastructure is primarily based around public transportation. Depending on where you are in the United States, it will probably be a lot of cars. The United States is kind of very car-based, unfortunately, but New York City, I am very grateful, is very forward-thinking in terms of that. It's basically subways, buses, such things. I will not lie, though, if you are looking to take a train from New York City to Philadelphia or something, it's going to be like quite expensive, like $50 round trip. But I digress. I will also pause for questions as well now. Is there anything else that anyone would like to ask or ask? Just give anyone a few minutes.
What was your biggest difference that you noticed from Pennsylvania to New York? What really shocked you?
What really shocked me? That is a very good question. I think just that I had met so many different kinds of people. I had never met a Jewish person before I came to college. I was 18 at the time. I was really surprised by how many different kinds of people from different walks of life there were. I mean, I came from like a small scale high school. I didn't go to one of the really great schools that produces amazing students. I went to like a low income one. It was kind of in an area that has historically been segregated. It was around 70% Black, and a lot of them have faced a lot of discrimination. So coming to New York City and just seeing so many different, I guess, kinds of people, it was a really amazing experience. I also think meeting math-minded people was a very nice thing. Maybe also just the kinds of people. I think that people in New York City are much more forward-thinking and accepting in many ways. And I was just amazed at how much there is to do in the city. I really was a great fan of it. Not to mention all of the other things that people get surprised about coming to college. So yeah, I would say that's probably what I was most surprised by coming to college here. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Of course. Anyone else?
Yeah, I do have one question. So currently I'm doing my master's at TU Dresden, and like you, I am also interested in algebraic number theory. So
Nice.
You said that at NYC it is like more popular for applied mathematics and something like that. So if I'm planning to do my PhD there, so will it be like a good decision, or?
Are you applying to NYU specifically, or just colleges in New York City?
Yeah, maybe like NYU maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'll be applying for USA possibly for PhD. So
NYU is an option. There are a few people here who are really big into rationality questions in algebraic geometry. So that is like rational parametrizations of varieties. There are a few people who do arithmetic geometry. I think, though, that Columbia, which is also in New York City, is a very good school for anything algebraic number theory and Langlands. There are a lot of people in that school who are very interested in those topics. I think Columbia is something that you should take a look at. But yeah, it's almost like a complement to NYU in many ways. And Columbia is very algebra, very combinatorics, very number theory. NYU is kind of the opposite. But yeah, I would say that's a good option. The University of Chicago is a very good option as far as number theory goes. A lot of people there are interested in Langlandsy stuff, as well as a lot of the other top places. I will add, though, that a lot of the public school universities in the United States, so things that are like the University of Pennsylvania or the University of Ohio that are paid for by the government, usually the departments are so huge that you can find almost anybody there is interested in what you want. So I would say like the public schools and a few of the ones that I mentioned are probably pretty good bets. Though I think this is also probably pretty well known among professors. But yeah, that's what I would say. I will be honest, though, I am hesitant to recommend NYU to an algebraic number theorist.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, if you get an offer here and it's like you really want to, I think it would be a good idea. And there are a lot of people here who are interested in that. There are a lot of graduate students who are, but it's definitely smaller in scope compared to the people who do PE and such things. But yeah. Any other questions from anyone? I'll just give a few moments in case anyone is thinking. Okay. And I think I will proceed just a little bit. I think it would be dishonest for me to come to an international association of people all around the world and not mention the elephant in the room, which is that the United States government is really not particularly stable right now. Oh my. So I have to mention immigrants. The administration has targeted immigrants really strongly. Law enforcement has conducted a huge deportation thing for particularly people from Latin American countries. People who are native-born, naturalized citizens, and undocumented immigrants have all been shipped to countries they never have been in. It's a really horrifying thing. I would say if anyone here is not from a Latin American country, this is probably not a risk factor, but it is really a deep shame that I have to mention this. I'm also going to mention the funding cuts. The Trump administration has instituted really sweeping funding cuts for scientists, including a 72% decrease in the budget of the National Science Foundation. And this has led a lot of American universities to really greatly cut their PhD programs as of late. For instance, I know NYU is definitely downsizing. Columbia has been very strongly targeted. They've really downsized. Not to mention protests. There have been a lot of protests for wars across the world, and the government has really been attacking people in universities for it. It is a shame, and it is an embarrassment that this is happening, but I think it would just be against my moral compass if I didn't come here and mention this. I think that these are factors that anybody should consider when they are thinking of applying to, when they are thinking of applying to a United States university. I will mention, though, that I am pretty optimistic about the direction of things. And I think that if you believe that a United States university would be beneficial for your education, then I think the benefits outweigh the risks. Universities tend to be really accepting places. If you're in a city, cities are generally the most progressive parts of the United States. You will probably not encounter as much hostility. And although there is always the looming threat of the administration, I do think that they tend to be much safer places to be. I apologize that this is something I had to mention. I know it is controversial, but this is just where I stand on the issues. And yeah, I had to bring it up. And I think with that, I think I have concluded my slides quite early, unfortunately. I have a few more things that I could mention, of course. I will ask a few more people if they have any questions. I would be more than happy to answer them. This is the perfect time for that. If you want to ask another, that's also totally okay. And if not, I could probably mention a few more things about what it's like to be a student at an American university. So, if there are any questions? I will also add to the person who mentioned about being a master's student. I mentioned briefly that that could be a downside, but it's absolutely not. Are you a master's student in a European university? It's also not really a downside for an American university, to be honest. I think that I might be erroneous in having included that in the slides. But I think absolutely it probably would not be an inhibiting factor. Oh, it seems my computer has just died. That is unfortunate. Did I digress? Is there anything else anyone would like to add? Any questions? Okay, then I think I will probably just mention a little bit more about what it's like to be a student at an American university. So, undergraduate research is one of the, I guess, primary undertakings taken by undergraduates. People typically get involved around their junior and senior year. Professors are usually very willing to get involved. It can range from summary papers to substantial work in many different subjects. American universities, they often host what are called REUs, which are summer programs designed for people. Oh, that was me. Excuse me. They often host REUs, which are summer programs that are paid. They pay you for the duration of a few months for you to perform intensive research in a particular topic with a professor. These are very difficult to get into. In fact, most REUs have only 6 slots, and they are people from all around the world apply to them, including from the best universities in the United States. But it is a really great opportunity to meet more and talk more about different people. Most professors, if you shoot them an email and ask to read, they will send you a few papers to get reading on. I'm really grateful that I have access to all of these opportunities. Yeah. I think I will just check around a little bit more if there are any other questions, since I have ended early. I will also ask the crowd, what is it like in other countries? Is there a specialization system? Like, what is the equivalent of a major or minor in a university from a country of which you're from? I'm just curious.
So where I'm from Portugal, and here we have bachelors.
Mhm.
So we choose on high school which area we would like to study for, like science, economics, humanities. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And then we specify on bachelor, and we only have classes that are optional on the 3rd year, and usually the courses are like 3 years, and then we can do masters, but it's not like you don't have to do it. You can go work, and then yeah, I think you can specialize in masters.
I see.
And I think that's it.
So it's not actually so dissimilar, it seems. It seems there's still a body of required classes you have to take. And you said by your 3rd year. Is it a 3-year program?
Yeah. Bachelors are usually 3 years.
3-year program.
For like nursery and medicine is like 4 or 6. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it.
In the United States as well, like law school, medicine school, all of that stuff is a completely different ballgame. It takes a very long time. It is very beyond me. I will be honest. I do not.
Yeah. And we have like scholarships, but like here, college is like at the most, like the public ones are like 700 euros. So.
Oh, 700 people. Wow.
No, euros. So For 1 year, you pay that much, so it's not that expensive.
I see. In the United States, they get huge. Some of them are very small, like 200 people, but I mentioned NYU is 50,000. I will also add that NYU operates the major hospital in New York City called NYU Langone. They're like kind of a business, like a multi-billion-dollar business that does a bunch of things from legal advising to, I mentioned, medicine, to research and other things. It's like kind of insane. But yeah, NYU, I will also add, is a private university, which means that it is not owned by the government, unlike something like a state university. But yeah, it's interesting to see the differences. It is. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I think I will just give a bit more of a yeah.
Can I ask one thing? Like,
of course,
what
as you want.
Yeah, what about the fee waiver? Like, is it like everyone can get in masters, or is it like very exclusive for some students? Or
the fee waiver? Do you mean like financial aid?
Yes, exactly. So like, or maybe stipend as well, if you can explain that as well.
Okay, so in the United States, typically most of the money is given out on a need basis. So it's not like how good of a student you are. They give it to you if you are of a low income. Like if your parents make only like 30,000, 40,000 euros a year, then you probably cannot afford NYU. And so they pay for most of your tuition. So if you are of that background, usually they will cover that tuition. There are also scholarships based around, what do you call it? That are based around your talent. There are lots of scholarship organizations in the United States. If you are of a particular heritage, for instance, there's a Hispanic scholarship fund, there's a scholarship fund for queer people in STEM, there's just generally funds for people in math. They are more than generous with giving out scholarships. And being a PhD student, if you are thinking of applying for a PhD in the United States, they pay you. I will admit that if you are getting $40,000 a year and you are in New York City, it's a little tight, the money. New York City is a very expensive place to be, but they pay you. So finance is not as much as a concern when you are a PhD student. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, like I also want to ask, like you mentioned that I can apply for Penn State or Ohio, you said, for number theory. So like, if they, like, what about this stipend there? Like, is it easy to get, or?
I will be honest, I was just listing state schools in that instance. Sorry.
Okay.
I know a few. I can write some in the chat. Some American universities that particularly specialize in number theory. As far as state schools go, I think any of them are probably quite good. Oh, I see the bachelor's program. I will read this after I finish speaking, but like places like UChicago, Columbia, I misspelled UChicago, sorry about that. All of the good ones like Princeton and Stanford and whatever. Yale is a pretty good program in terms of this. I think a lot of the ones in California as well, like USC, Caltech, such things. But the ones that I mentioned, like Columbia, what do you call it? UChicago especially. A lot of the people who are involved in the proof of geometric Langlands, for instance, go there. There are a lot of people who are involved in like arithmetic stuff, like arithmetic geometry. There's a really robust number theory department there. But yeah. As far as state schools, I'm not so knowledgeable on that topic, and so I don't know if I can list any. Apologies. And I'll just read what someone else wrote. The bachelor's program here in Germany is usually 3 years. At my university, during the first 3 semesters, you take a few basic math courses and a few classes and one specific about other subject. Physics, 4th semester, you start specializing, 8 to 10 courses to choose. You have 8 to 10 courses per semester. Wow. I have 4 per semester. I have 4 to 5, in fact. Most universities are 5. NYU is 4 per semester. That's fascinating. In the master's, you take pure math and such things. 4 semesters, and there you start heavy specializing. In the United States, specializing in a master's is also typically what you get into. But 8 to 10. That's fascinating. But yeah, it is much fewer classes going on. Though I will add that's because a lot of the humanity ones are a lot of work. It's a lot of reading. But I digress. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I have also one thing to ask. Like following the same line, so what's the stipend for in as in PhD or the graduate program? Like we get the teaching assistantship.
Sorry, can you repeat? You mean a stipend? Do you mean like the salary or like how much it pays?
Yeah, for the PhD.
For the PhD.
Yeah, so it's based on like teaching assistantships and
Mhm. So typically, they pay you around 30,000 to 40,000 a year. As a PhD student, your obligations are not just research. Usually, you also teach a course, or you are a teaching assistant. Oftentimes, you're a grader. In NYU, all of the PhD students are usually teaching assistants. They hold recitations. Um, but that's, I say, the primary obligations. Typically, PhD students, for the first year or two, they have coursework. After what are called qualifying exams, you find an advisor and you spend around 4 to 5 years researching one topic in particular. Because the United States has a very short and optional master's program, usually PhDs are longer. They're like 5 years long. Sometimes they can range upwards of 6. Only really exceptional students can do it in a shorter amount of time. But in terms of how much they pay you, it depends. If you're in a city, they'll generally pay you more. If you're in the suburbs where everything's cheap, they'll probably pay you less. But I would say it is a salary where you can expect to rent an apartment, probably make your own food, and have a little bit of disposable income. But it could be a lot better, unfortunately. I hope I answered your question. Is that?
yes, got it. Just one more thing that
Of course.
for the first year, it's the coursework we need to do, right? So that also includes the stipend, or I mean, for the first year,
For the first year, is there a stipend?
yes.
I believe so, yes. I believe they do pay you when you were a first year. And I know many first years and master's students who also work as teaching assistants and graders and such things, and that's additional income. So I do believe in most universities they will pay you. This is probably on a specific university's course websites, but in general, yes, it's paid. And once you graduate and you are a postdoctorate, usually as well, the position is paid by some fund or something of the sort. Yeah. A master's
Yeah,
student.
okay, yeah, got it.
Sorry? Oh,
Yeah,
apologies.
yeah, no, I got it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, usually a master's, you're not paid if you're a master's student, unless you teach a course, but it's not going to be as much as a PhD. The government will pay for PhD students themselves. Oh, thank you for attending the talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. The government they personally pay PhD students as researchers. It is not just being teaching assistants, but if you're master's students, you probably won't get a substantial income from that. It'll be like being an undergraduate in a way. Yeah.
Yes, okay, yeah, that is good then.
Can I ask, where are you from? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm from India. Like this time, I'm applying for the graduate program. So
That's good stuff. Well, good luck with applications. Good luck with them.
yeah, thank you so much.
Of course. Okay. And is there any other questions? Okay. Then this might be a good time to